Hi, this is Garrison Comstock with Prime Properties Beach Cities and the Garrison Team Real Estate. I'm here to give you the South Bay market update for July of 2020 using the stats from June. So let's jump right into it. We're going to get to a lot of the market stats as well as the South Bay specific stats, a lot of the fears that people are feeling right now, and whether or not the stats justify that or not. So let's go ahead and share my screen real quick here and go into, excuse me, go into my presentation. Oh, cancel. That's not what I want. Present. Okay. So South Bay housing market, July 2020. So this slide's all about the beginning of the V-shape is happening. Now, if you missed my last market update or you're new to viewing the market updates now, the economists, all the best economists, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, they all predicted a V-shaped recovery, a down in Q2 and then going up through Q3 and Q4. And now, in the first stage of the recovery does look V-shaped. We're seeing that movement. We're seeing the growth happen again. The fear of the L shape, which is what everybody's afraid of, the down and then sideways, right, and no recovery, is getting smaller and smaller because the V shape is starting to happen. Greg from the Wall Street Journal is saying that here in this quote. But then as you move forward, you can see it in showings too, with regards to the economic recovery of real estate. We had showings and then woo, boom, you know, March 10th, March 12th, when we had the stay-at-home orders, showings went down and we kind of got used to the situation, and then showings started back up. And now we're through June and showings are more than they even were in January and February. They're actually quite normal. And that's really impressive, to be completely honest, because we have to jump through hoops to show properties now. We have to get everybody to sign individual P forms for each property we see before we enter. A lot of times, even before we show up for appointments or schedule appointments, we have to get those signed by clients before we go inside, before we show appointments. It's an extra step. It takes a lot. And the fact that showings are up in spite of that is actually quite impressive. So everybody right now, well, not everybody, but I hear this a lot from my clients about what people are afraid of right now. I hear, hey, what do you think about what's going to happen with forbearance for all the people that are in forbearance right now? They're going to foreclose at the end of the year, right? And I say the statistics don't really back that up, at least not for this area. And I'll go through some slides that show that. But that's the main fear right now. I understand it, but let's talk about it. Let's talk it through and see whether or not that's reality or not. So of all the active forbearances which are past due on the mortgage payment, 77% have at least 20% on their home in equity. What that means is, I mean, and we can go even further. If you add this 13%, that means 90% have over 10% equity. Now, what that means is there are options. The sellers can choose to sell their home. They can choose to, and then they have to pay, obviously, realtor fees. They have to pay transaction costs. They have to pay closing costs, but they have enough equity in their home to do that. They have enough equity in their home to potentially refinance. They have enough equity in the home to, if policymakers have new rules that come out in the next couple of months, there are a lot of options involved with having equity. So having that amount of equity really decreases the chances that everybody's going to foreclose. These aren't struggling homeowners that are over leveraged in their houses, and especially with houses rising or housing prices rising. I've shown this before, so once again, if you're new, this will be the first time, but if not, it still rings true. Everybody's been very conservative since 2008. So 42% of homes nationwide are owned free and clear, and 58%, almost 60%, have at least 60% equity. And here in the South Bay, that's a lot of money. You know, for $1 million home, 60% equity is $600,000. For $1 million home, 10% equity is $100,000. You know, it's a lot of extra wealth and extra money people can tap into. They've been very conservative since 2008, which is why we haven't, I'll get to it later, we haven't had any inventory in a long time. And this is why people aren't taking out money and buying another property and leveraging themselves more. They're being very conservative and just putting money into their property. And therefore they have a bunch of equity, a little nest egg to help them right now. Also, the unemployment rates. These are the unemployment rates parceled out through age groups. So as you can see, it's mainly the younger population that has the higher unemployment rates that bring those up. They're like, wow, look at all the unemployed people. Well, I would argue that most of the unemployed people in the South Bay are not also homeowners. Not all of them, obviously, but many of them are not homeowners. The new age of first-time home buyers in the past couple of years has gotten to 33 years old, which is this little slice right here, right? 33 and 34. That's like the new age of first-time home buyers when the millennials start to have kids. And when they start to have kids, they buy their first house. And then here we go, 35 to 45, 45 to 54, 55 and older are the lower percentages of unemployed. Also, available listings have been decreasing for a long time. I mean, since September of last year, it was already going down. This is each year, right? 2018, boom. Beginning of 2019, boom. Then 2020, it's really low here and it stayed low, like lower than usual. The reason I'm showing this stat is because even if we get a rush of listings, it's going to bring us back to a normal level, which was still low in amounts of listings. And I want you to be careful about listening to those overarching cherry pick statistics like, oh my gosh, home sales are down 20% in 2020 or 50% in 2020, whatever that number is. Of course, home sales are down. One, we had coronavirus, but two, we had no listings. So how can we sell as many homes as last year if we have half the amount of listings as last year? So yes, home sales are down. They're going to be down. I think I addressed this here pretty soon, but as you can see, total listings, new listings went down coming into March to May, right? People were like, oh no, I'll wait. If I want to sell, maybe I want to sell my house, maybe I want to move somewhere else. I'll wait. Let me wait until April, May, until this coronavirus stay-at-home order is over, and then I'll put my home on the market. So we saw new listings go down, but then we've seen them come back up, and we've seen a steady rush of new listings, and we've seen this in the South Bay as well, so I'll go ahead and go over those numbers a little bit later. But total listings, as you can see, is still decreasing, even though new listings has increased, because as these have come up, the demand is still so high, they're just gobbling them all up. So demand is so high, it really even when we have a new level of new listings, we're still eating them all up and keeping that, not days of inventory, that months of inventory low. We're at historical lows, literally an all-time low is inventory as a percentage of households right now in the United States. We're so low, we're half of what the historical average is of inventories as of numbers of households. So even if we get some extra inventory from people who are like, okay, I'm unemployed, I need to sell my house, I need to put it on the market. Even if we get an extra inventory, it's just gonna bring us to a historical long-term average or close to it. Like we need to go above and beyond that to have any sort of change because we're still under 3 months of inventory, which I'll show you a graph on. This is funny for everybody who's been looking at homes with me in the last couple months, or I guess the last couple of years in general, but on average, there were 3 offers on a home, up from 2 in April, according to Zillow nationwide. If you've been looking for a home in the South Bay, you know there's usually more than 3 offers if the home's nice. I, for one, was involved in a 21 offer situation about 2 weeks ago. It was crazy. It's one of the largest I've ever been involved in. But in general, we'll get them next time, by the way. But in general, the 5, 6, 7, 8 offers for a nice place that's priced right is normal. We've been over the median days on market. I'll go over here in a second for the South Bay. It's very low. Places that are priced right go really quick, and home prices are rising. But I just think that's funny. It's from up to 3 on average from 2, but we see so much more than that here. So this quote, Zelman Associates is saying, the inventory tightness is great for prices, right? High demand, low inventory means prices go up. People all compete for the really low inventory and prices go up. Well, it's also a risk factor in the degree rebound in unit sales. So watch out for unit sales numbers. If we never get more inventory, we're never gonna have high unit sales. It's just, we can't sell homes that don't exist or listings that don't exist. So these are home appreciation adjustments. Ivy Zelman and the Reuters survey had, hey, we're going to appreciate a lot. Pre-COVID, they were saying, this year we're going to appreciate a lot, the orange right here. But then the green, post-COVID, they're like, okay, we're still going to appreciate, but we're going to appreciate less in 2020 and more in 2021 in this case. They're a little bit more conservative over here, but this is better shown in this stat. The Mortgage Bankers Association, Zelman Associates, Fannie Mae, National Association of Realtors, and Freddie Mac. Everybody is all saying we've got appreciation into 2021 and 2022. The Home Price Expectation Survey, this is the public. The public seems to think, what about that? Remember the term in 2010, 2011, shadow inventory? If you're around real estate in that era, you know, everybody was worried that banks were holding back this horde of listings. And even though we seem to be coming out of the bubble there in 2011, 2012, that all of a sudden they were going to release this shadow inventory onto the world and we were going to dip right back in. They were holding it off. It never came. And just right now, we're worried about the forbearance. And I don't put quotes on it, it's real, but forbearance. People are worried that home prices are going to drop a little bit. But in reality, most of the big companies and associations that track this stuff, they all predict home prices will continue to rise. And all the stats I've been showing you today pretty much say that as well. Demand is still high. Well, why is demand so high? One, inventory is so low. We'll get to that. Nationwide from 2010, right? This was a buyer's market, 8.5 months of inventory. 5 to 6 is normal, regular market, 8.5 months, buyer's market. And then boom, we've been under 5. Nationwide, we've been under 4 since 2015. 4.1 nationwide right now. That number is different for us. Now, this is South Bay specific. 2008, buyer's market, 10 months. 8 months, down under 6 months. And then we haven't been since midway through 2014, like call it June or July 2014, actually call it August, right there. I actually marked it for us. August of 2014, we have not been over 3 months. This is 3 months and this is 3 months right here. So we have to go all the way up into here to be in a seller's market again, or to be in a, well, normal market's right in here and then be in a seller's market up in here. We need a lot of inventory and we haven't had it. We haven't had it for a long time. So here's the stats. And last month, if you watched, I said, let's watch this stats because last month was the first month this year that we finally had a jump in new listings. We felt like we were coming out of COVID. Everybody could go back out again. Everybody was feeling good about themselves. And we had all the people that were holding off from, March and April started putting their homes on the market in May. So we had a jump from like in the 200s to 550. And I was like, I think the demand's so high that we're just probably going to gobble those up. But we'll see what happens with the June statistics. And you know what? That happened. Because as you see, we closed 262, but there were less listings to choose from. Once we had 549 listings to choose from, boom, jumped up to 372 closed, 331 pending after the 234 pending in May. And then once again, people felt good about putting their homes on the market, 596. But even with this number, we gobbled up all the extras, 2.9 months, three months of inventory. We did see, since we had a little bit extra to choose from, and I would argue that most of those listings that came on were luxury listings. A lot of them were. That's driving this median days on market rise because there's still under 2 months supply of the entry-level properties, the 2-bed townhomes and condos in the South Bay. There's under 2 months supply of those, and those still go lickety-split. This median days on market is driven by, there's been a little bit more in the luxury listing area, people that are comfortable and then we're just waiting for the market to go ahead and put their home back on the market. But percentage of list price is still 98.1%. So why is demand so high? It's the same thing that I've been saying, but here's a different way of saying it. Percentage of income needed, this is nationwide, for a mortgage payment, decreasing dramatically as mortgage rates fall. So all-time lows, historic norm is 21.2% of your income needed for a mortgage payment. Right now, nationwide, it's 14.6%. It's a little, admittedly, don't look at this number, right? We have high prices here in the South Bay, so we're higher than this, but the historic norm with regards to this area and us, it's still a historic low here. When I tell you affordability is at an all-time high, this is what I mean. It's, even though prices are high, we make enough money here to support it. So there's a reason they keep going up. It's because we as a community, we can still support these prices. We're still buying them. They're not too expensive for us. They're actually affordability is an all-time high, which means prices in regards to income is really low. We're all making so much money here. It's I guess fantastic for everybody in the South Bay. And then you realize that its interest rates too are at all-time lows. Right now, you can get interest rate between 2.99 and 3.25. So I have this at 3.23. It's for owner occupied. So if it's an investment, it's a little different. But for a $700,000 mortgage, we've been over these before, you can save over 30 years, $150,000 almost, $142,455 saved. So interest rates are low, affordability is high. There's no inventory right now, like historically low, under 3. People who unemployment, the larger percentage of unemployed people are ages of people who aren't also homeowners. Most homeowners have, 42% of homeowners have free and clear homes. 60% have over 60% equity in their homes. All of this adds to not getting more inventory and demand staying high until something significantly changes. So having said that, I hope you enjoyed your market update. If you have any particular questions for me, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email at garrison@soldbygarrison.com or shoot me a call at 310-220-4931. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.